Hi, I'm Tom Marks and I talk about code. Welcome to another PlayStation 2 game development stream where we're going to be putting my library to the test. We're going to be trying to build something really cool. We can flip over to our screen and see what we have so far. This is not quite right. I believe I've got a bit of controller drift. So, okay, let's restart this. I had a beautiful plan there that I would just show the game, but apparently my character drifted off screen while I wasn't looking. So, we have a little character, we can spin him. The goal is to start doing some gamepad handling stuff and to make him be able to shoot, to add some enemies that are going to come in off the side of the screen, maybe to like wrap around the edge of the screen, go, full asteroids, gaming like it's 19-7. We've also got to fix, I don't know if you can tell, right? I can tell. As this triangle rotates, he kind of skews. So he's taller when he faces this way, and he's wider when he faces this way, and that's not good. That's probably just a matrix math error. So we're going to have to design an entity system. We're going to have to handle gamepad inputs in a smarter way. Okay, because we're going to see. So there's one, let's do the gamepad first. That feels like a good place to start. So let's go. Gamepad. We have one API for gamepad handling, and that is pad, capital pad, dot held, right? Is this held right now? Yes or no? We want to wrap this up into a nice event system. And sorry if you can hear the cockatoos on the street. They are very excited this morning. So we need to turn this, yes or no, is a button currently being held into an event system, right? We don't want to have to ask constantly, is this button being held? We don't want to have to track in our player if a button's being held or not to work out if we've just pressed it, because then maybe somewhere else we're going to have to do the same work. We want this to be centralized, and then we want this basically, to go through something and then come out on the other end, state dot pad press. I believe this is what we've called our event, right? So we need to do something to make this nice. So I mean, the first thing we kind of need to do, right? Store if held. We need to remember what's currently being held and what's not. And then every frame we need to check, has state changed? And it's really this simple. There are only two things that we are really, putting into this, right? We need some kind of list, and we need some kind of check, right? Is what's in the list equal to the button being held? And we can use maps to make this really, in my opinion, quite elegant. I've pretty much got this architected in my mind already. So let's go to main.lua. Yeah, let's go to main.lua, right? Because we're going to come in, we're going to do something. Let's go every frame, we'll say update pad state, and we'll pass in our current state. So we'll make a function, update pad state. We'll put this in its own function because it's going to have a bit of logic to it, and it's going to feel a little bit self-contained. So we need a local list, or even a local map. We're going to use maps. We're going to call this map pad held state. So this pad held state, for each potential button, right? So what this map is going to represent, pad held, it's roughly the same as saying, if pad held be some button index, right? Our buttons are really just numbers, but we can refer to them. We can say, pad.x, pad.circle, pad.left for the left D-pad. Analog sticks are handled completely differently. We don't need to worry about this for them. So if pad held for some button, we want this to mean, if that's true, then we want that to be the equivalent of saying that pad.held B is true, right? Indeed, if and only if, right? Just to get a bit more mathematical there. But, just math symbols aside, I guess. If, then, right? So that's the kind of relationship we're going to have in this map. This is how the keys of this map are gonna work. That's what they're going to mean. So for each key in the map, pad state, let's call this B. B for button. In pairs, pad held state. Right? So for each button, we have what we think the current state is, and we can compare that to pad the like pad state. Cinemcido, you want to test it? You can build it. If you have PS2 SDK, you can build it. Now that I've got the math API, there's really not much else I need before I cut my first release. I want to document it though, right? There's currently a complete lack of documentation. So my goal is build something with it, kind of dog food it, write some docs, and then do a release. And then you can play around with it and build stuff. But right now, I don't think it's really useful to people other than me in its current state. Sorry, just a detour there for a second. But an important question about how I am actually going to release this. For every button, okay, so let's go. We'll call this last state, right? This is whatever state this button was in last frame, and the current state is going to be pad.held B. Okay, so we've got the state the button was in last time. We have the current state. If current state is not equal to last state, then this has happened, right? Then we're here. Has the state changed? Yes. The state has changed. So what do we do about it? Well, if the new state is false, then we've released the button. If the new state is true, then we've pressed the button. And I think that's it. Right? We don't need to do anything fancier than that. Cool. Okay, so if current state not equals last state, if current state equals true, then state pad press B, else state pad release B, end. Now, I believe we actually defined these, and we did. Pad press, pad release. We haven't used them yet, but we defined them. So if I run this, it shouldn't blow anything up. Oop. There we go. And cool, okay. So nothing broke. That is a low bar to clear, but nothing broke. Let's also clean up this player. We don't want to log this every frame. That's kind of messy. So let's come into our player. Let's say, well, I guess we need to pass these events down, right? So let's not rush into that then. But what do we want to happen when the game gets an event? So function, game, pad, press, B. What does this actually do? I guess the first question is, are we going to have entities in our game that aren't players that respond to events? I would probably say the answer is no. So maybe for now we just pass events into players. But before we even get to that, log debug press B. We're just going to print it out. And I'm guessing nothing's going to happen. And nothing's going to happen for I guess kind of a subtle reason, but also a very predictable reason. Okay, so that's good. Let's look at how main works, right? That's not the main I want. Let's look at how main works. This is great, a great way to iterate over this, but we don't initialize our pad state properly, okay? We start with an empty map. So this won't pick up buttons that aren't already in the map. So we need to initialize our map with the buttons that we care about. We could either do this here. I guess we could write a function to do it. Let's pop my chat out for this one. We got a good question in chat here. Cool. God. Okay, Greg Willis 97. Can you ask the Vim plugin I'm using to browse my files? I'm using Fuzzy Finder, which is one of the most incredible Vim plugins imaginable. If you don't use this, you should. So I can pull up a file browser. I can search by file name. So if I want to look at my like matrix 3 stuff, I can do that. Jump to it really easily. I can let's generate tags. I can actually find symbols. So if I want to look at like player.new, I can find where that's actually defined in my code. It's cool. It's cool. So I've got a finder, I've got a file opener, and I think I have another one in here somewhere. But yeah, if you use C tags, it's great. If you just want to open files, it's great. Fuzzy Finder is magic. Always have to sidetrack to plug Fuzzy Find. Okay, so we need to initialize our pad held state just to have a bunch of buttons that we care about. So let's write a function to do it. Function init pad state function. There's no M in function apparently. Do I want to loop? Do I want to loop this? So we have pad.x, pad.left, pad.right, pad.up, pad.down. Do you know what would actually be cool? What would be cool is if we had a predefined list of all buttons to make this easier. That's really interesting actually. Okay, so we're gonna go. Yeah, this would be perfect in PS2 Init. This would be perfect. Alright, let's get rid of a spam bot. Sorry about this. Should have actually banned. Oh well. I'll think about this for next time. I'm not going to do this right now. It's a bit too much. For now, let's just say pad held state. I'm over engineering. Pad.x is false. Let's go left. Let's go right. We're not going to care about every button for now. Let's just start with a few. Okay, so if I press X, it should say that we pressed X. And it doesn't. If I press up, down, left, right. Well, I bumped my analog stick. Hey, look at this, ready? I can just, like, no hands. Freaking stick drift, man. It's like I've got a switch or something. Okay. Left, right, up, down. What? Oh, I didn't call the function. Obviously. That checks out. So let's go just anywhere down here. Init pad state. Don't you love it when you write an initializer and then you don't call it? And cool, we press button 0. We press button 0 a lot. Because, okay, again, this is very obvious when you think about it, right? We get the current state of the button, we check it with the last state, but we never update the map. So we need to do that. We need to go pad held state b equals current state. And now we're going to see this work. Binia, this guy DWMs, thank you. DWM, you know, the real window manager, right? Don't at me if you don't use DWM. Cool, so now we can hold X and nothing happens. We can just tap X a bunch of times and it's going to tell us that we've pressed it. Left, right, up, down. I love it. Again, I should probably write a function that maps... Oh my god, the stick drift is happening again. I should write a function that maps these numbers into actual nice names. That would be worthwhile. But anyway. Binia, you also use DWM. What DWM patches do you use? Or do you customize it yourself? Are you a lunatic doing this stuff yourself? Actually, hold on. I haven't got my DWM properly initialized. Okay, so I've got this cool thing. I wrote this myself, which is why it's kind of janky, but for one thing, it doesn't update unless I change scene. But I changed the stack height so that it fits around my webcam. I usually do this before I start streaming, but I forgot today. DWM's great. No patches, stock colors with D menu. Beautiful. I changed to Roffy because I think it looks nice. I thought it looked better on stream especially, but D menu is also awesome. And you can make D menu look a lot nicer than I had it. Roffy? R-O-F-I. That's this. It's a lot like DWM. It's less, suck less philosophy. It just looks pretty. Yeah. Rofi? I don't know. Anyway, we've got button presses working and that's awesome. So, how do we pass this message through? Let's just, in our game entity, let's track a player, okay? And we're just going to call this directly. We're going to pass this directly through to the player. So we can say P gamepad press B, and function gamepad release. Cool. I don't think we're going to care about pad release in our player at all. I think we're only going to care about things like being pressed, but we'll see what we do. Function pad press. And again, we're just going to log it out for now, make sure it works. Function player pad. We're going to define the release function so it doesn't blow up, but we're not actually going to do it. So when I press X, okay, here we go. Attempted to index a nil value global P. Game 31. Oh yeah, hold on, what am I? Sorry, I was thinking, I don't know what I was thinking. I was thinking about DWM and window managers and launchers. This is what happens, it's dangerous, right? It's dangerous to get too relaxed while you stream. Yeah, cool, now it's working. There we go. Cool thing about, yeah, PlayStation 2 analog controllers not being initialized, I don't know, that's weird. Oh, no, please distract me. I do this, like, I don't get much out of streaming other than just cool bants with cool programmery people while I work on interesting projects. I absolutely love it. This is why I'm here. Always happy to meet other DWM users. I've definitely seen other people use DWM, although it's usually i3, right? Or BSPWM. Okay, so we can do stuff. We want to be able to shoot a bullet, right? We want to be able to, you know, rotate, shoot things out, shoot out entities as they come in. So we want some kind of, like, let's call it play a bullet. Let's define a couple of things. So a bullet is going to have a position. So we'll define the meta table for this, right? It's going to have a position, it's going to have a speed. The speed's going to be like 200 pixels per second. They're going to be quite snappy. And this is already looking a lot like the player meta table. It's going to have an angle. We're going to call this angle here instead of theta because I think that's a bit better. So angle of 0 is going to be towards positive x, and we'll rotate around counterclockwise from there because trigonometry. It's not going to have a transform. That's it. I guess we could also have a color. And that will be it. So make it like white by default, I guess. Function. So they need to have a draw and an update function. So draw will be very, very easy here. Because all we need to do is set the color and draw a 2x. We'll just draw a 2x2 rectangle. Okay, we're going to go super simple. We're going to use graphics primitives rather than sprites for now. So D2D. Color. This is color 1. I've made this mistake so many times in Lua. Lists are 1 indexed for some crazy reason. And the alpha channel for the PlayStation 2, we just set it to 8.0 in hex because that's just what you do. Because PlayStation 2 has weird alpha. Okay, so the rectangle, it's going to be self pos x, self pos y, self width, self height, and that's it. That's how we draw a bullet. And then player bullet update. So this is going to feel very familiar, right? This is going to feel a lot like our player update. We're going to, I guess, except instead of this, we're probably just going to use the vector2 rotate function directly. So, you know, you can do vector2 rotation. You can either build a transform matrix yourself, a 3x3 transform, or a 2x2 transform. Or, you know, vector2 actually just has. So I can go m vec2. So let's go. So kind of like a forward direction is vector2 self speed. So a vector towards positive x with length speed, and then we say forward rotate. We rotate it however many degrees around from positive x. And then so this modifies forward. Our math APIs modify vectors by default. So we have to kind of manually copy things. It puts the onus on us to track where stuff is. And then self.pos add direction. Cool. So now this works, right? This is all we need to define a bullet. It's going to move through the map. When we press a button, if b equals pad.x, then we'll let players shoot as fast as they can spam the button for now. We won't have a cooldown or anything. When you press the button, we want to make a bullet, so local set meta table. So we want to set the position, right? Position equals... Okay, here we go, hold on. So this is something to think about. We've hit a think point. Do I use the size adjustment shortcut for ST? I don't. I have it configured. Is it like Control-Shift plus? Alt-Shift plus? I have it set up, and for some reason it never actually works for me, and I'm not sure why. I did something weird to it. I broke it somehow. I used to use it. I actually just have a predefined script called stbig, which starts st with a bigger font size, which is kind of nice because when I was manually adjusting it before every stream, some streams I would end up with a slightly different font size. This way I just have it baked into config. I think yeah, so like I just have a big font size defined and call it with this. Nope. Yeah, it's a cool shortcut if it works for you. Okay, so we're spawning a bullet, right? We have a player. He's gonna face some direction, right? So he's got some angle. This is our positive x. That angle we're gonna call like theta. So we want to spawn a bullet traveling in this direction from some distance in front of the player. How do we do it? Well, I guess we can do pretty much what we're doing to calculate how the bullet moves, right? We start with player X, player Y, and we want to add some offset to that. And that offset, it's some distance from the player rotated around the angle of the player. And the bullet's just going to inherit whatever angle the player currently has. So that offset is going to be O dot, let's call this like D for displacement. So our O is going to be a vector. O equals V2. It's going to be D0, right? So a vector this length pointing to the right, and then we rotate it. Rotate theta. And that's going to give us this direction, this offset to start the bullet at. Right? Obviously, it's not going to be like twice the length of the player. This is just a demonstration, but we don't want to start the bullet like here. We want to start the bullet, here, or maybe even here if we want to make it feel really like responsive. Like the bullet is coming out with a lot of velocity, right? That's kind of a trick. Start the bullet further away from the player, and it feels like it's got a lot more kind of like oomph, a lot of inertia. So that's cool. That works. So the position is going to be, let's go, let's make a copy of this. So let's go vec2.lure, I think copy, right? Yeah, beautiful. No, copy is static. Vec2. Okay, hold on. Let's go m.vec2 from m.vec2 from self-pos. So we start with the player's position. And then we grab some kind of displacement. Let's go with 30 pixels for now. We rotate it however many angles, but we add this on to our offset. So we can do this all in a one-liner. It's a bit gross, but we can do it. And then angle equals the player's angle. And the meta table is going to be and then we need to put this into the game somehow. So if we go to game.lure, we've got this table of entities. How do we put something in it? I guess we want some kind of spawn function, right? Function game spawn. table insert self dot e. I misspelled that. Insert. Cool. And so then we can go here. We can just say self spawn p. Beautiful. I love it. I love it. All right, that all sounds good. That all sounds good. That all sounds good. So if I run this, it blows up. That's okay. These things happen sometimes. Let me bring this up in a new terminal. And we'll see what actually goes wrong here. Okay, so this blew up when it tried to load the script player.lua. Unfortunately, this happens with syntax errors in my code. So if I make lua lint, I get a linter error, which is awesome. Player lua line 6, expected to close near speed. Okay, so player line 6. Missing a comma after this line, which meant that Lua expected the table to end, which meant that it didn't pass this properly. Easy. Okay, so there's another problem. It lints fine. So again, let's run this in the command line. Let's see what we get. Okay. Okay, so init. So it loads some stuff. Weird. This is a weird one. This is a very weird one. Annoyingly, so this is a Lua error that blows up the emulator. It tries to dereference a null pointer, and annoyingly, this comes from a weird implementation of how Lua handles errors, or a weird quirk of how Lua handles errors interacting with PS2 SDK. Specifically, its use of long jump and set jump for some reason just blows up the PlayStation 2. Not just the emulator, like this really fails hard on hardware as well, which is annoying. So what do we do? What have we changed? What have we broken? Right? Because realistically, we would expect. So for example, if I get rid of this and run it, it still blows up. I'm guessing it must be something we do at the start, right? Is that an entity's E? It must be something we do at the start. Local p equals player new, self.player, player, table index, self. We've spelt entities correctly. That's good. Could we have... Could we have some... We've got to have blown it up here, right? So if I get rid of this line, I bet it works. No. Ooh, that's weird. That's really weird. What did we do? Should have been committing as we went. Holy crap. Can I just like... Let me start commenting some stuff out. And hoping. Ooh, this is really not good. What happened? What did I... Unless... Hold on. Unless I somehow like... I didn't make any changes here. I didn't make any changes here. Did I accidentally like put a character in one of these like core engine files? No. What have I done? What have I done? Okay, let's start just like cutting stuff out until it works. This is terrible. And this is what happens when you don't have proper error messages, right? You just have to like guess. If I get rid of this and it still blows up, then something really bad has happened. Yeah, okay. It's got to be a syntax error. It's got to be a syntax error. If anyone can see what's happened here and put me out of my misery, that would be beautiful. Lua Lint says we're fine. Sorry, Lua 5. Hold on. Lua Lint there says we're fine. Oh, what have I done? What have I done? What have I done? Game. Man, that's annoying. It's got to be something that happens at startup, right? So it really shouldn't come from any of this. Unless I made a really weird... But LuaLint passes. Okay, we're staring into the void again. Why does I... And you've always got this like doubt in the back of your mind. You're like, does this fail because it's PlayStation 2? Or does it fail for some like real genuine reason? Weirdly here, okay? Why is everything getting open twice? It doesn't feel right. But anyway. It fails when it opens mat 3. So I guess one thing we could consider... have I somehow broken this version of the file, right? Have I done something weird? P. No, this file's fine. Oh, that's really annoying. What is it? What is it? Alright, I'm going to throw a BRB up while I think about this, while I contemplate this. I'm going to go get myself a drink of water. I'm gonna think really hard, okay? I'll be back in a second. Okay, this is shocking. This is shocking. It was so obvious once I stood up for like 2 seconds. Zymus, time to debug the error reporting. Yeah, seriously. I'm gonna spend a stream. I may even do it tonight, depending. I just want to sit down. I want to tear through PS2 SDK code and Lua code and work out why set jump and long jump break. I've got to crack this, because the amount of time I waste trying to find things like this, things that are very obvious, okay? If you can't see. And so why does this pass lint and then fail so dramatically at runtime, okay? So player bullet, right? Simple typo. And then I define methods on player bullet, which is nil, right? It's undefined. So I'm defining a method on nothing, which at runtime is going to blow up. At lint time, this is fine, because we might have some kind of global called player bullet. Lua can't say that this is actually an error until we run it. And because set jump and long jump are broken, Lua error reporting breaks in some specific cases. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it works. Daniel Santos knows this pain. Okay, he's been working on some PlayStation 2 Lua stuff as well. And we're both really wondering why, but he thinks it's down to me to actually like work out what's broken. which is cool. I've spent a few streams where I've gone into the PlayStation 2 PlayStation 2 debugger and like torn through the code to work out why. I've pinpointed it down to this set jump and long jump, right? It's when we call long jump. I just can't work out why. Anyway, let's run this. And let's see what happens when we press the X button. We blow up. Again though, that's okay, right? This blows up with an error message this time, because we attempted to index a nil value other. So in vec2, blah, blah, blah. So I'm guessing this comes from calling copy vec2 from. Self.pos shouldn't, So let's go to vec2.lure from other. Nil value other. So why aren't I just calling... Okay, yeah, vec2 from. Self... Let's just run it again, which is a silly thing to do, but... Why is pos nil? Attempt to index a nil value local other. Vec2 from. m.vec2 from. This is a function, not a method. I think. Vec from, yeah, vec2mt.from, vec2.lure from, it's a function, not a method, other. Log debug to string. So let's log out that we're spawning a bullet. Then it looks less like we're debug logging. So spawn bullet at there. We also need to actually like spawn the bullet into the game, right? Now here's an interesting one. How do we communicate that we want to spawn something back up the chain? It's a good question. It's a question I don't have an answer for yet. Oops. Now let's just settle for creating it. Spawn bullet at 3040. Attempt to index a nil value. Huh. So it has a value. Self.pos. We pass it into vec2 from. Vec2 dot from other. Copy. We call that as a method. So this all looks convincing. Is it online? It's on line 66, right? I shouldn't have quit there. That was silly. Line 60. Line 71. Vec2 lure. Line 71. Add vec2. I suspect. Okay. If I'd have done this properly, if I'd have done my due diligence and actually checked the line number, this is like the lowest hurdle you can clear when you're working out why code's broken. Okay. So, why did this break? Why did this break? It says that other is nil, and the biggest thing I can see, the biggest thing I can think of, actually, we're calling rotate. Okay, rotate modifies a vector in place. It doesn't return anything. So maybe this should return self. I don't know. I'm on the fence. I kind of like this more because then it's explicit that it modifies in place, right? You're not getting something back. It means you can't chain them together into nice pipelines quite like I wanted to. But that's okay. I can live with that. So let's go. So we have position. We'll say offset equals 0, offset rotate self.theta. And now we've got to add this. So let's go bo add offset. And then we just set it in here. Yeah, cool. So now this works. And again, still nothing's going to happen, right? Still nothing happens. We spawn a bullet and it does some stuff. Cool. So what do we do? Where do we go from here? where do we go from here? We need a way to tell the game to spawn something. Now again, do we just let the player have a reference to its parent state? That is not a ridiculous thing to think, because the player is going to be kind of special. Like, I guess enemies are going to do it in general. Okay, here's another thought. The update method also takes a game state in. But Tom, I hear you say, how do we get that over here? Well, we come in, we say if spawn bullet. Okay, this works. If pad x, then self.spawn bullet. So we make a bullet, we spawn the bullet in the parent state, and then we say self.spawn bullet is false. Perfect. That is a thing of beauty. Game.lure. Now when we update, we also pass in the state. And this is good. So is this going to work just off the bat? Kind of. It seems like we continue to shoot forever. Oh no, hold on. That's actually just the same bullet looping around the screen. Because in the PlayStation 2, the coordinate system's kind of limited. If you go off screen but keep drawing, it's going to just go forever. So let's go if e pos less than x less than negative 20. Let's go negative 30, or e pos y less than negative 30, or e pos, I guess let's go greater than, right? Let's go less than. E pos x, if we're over 640 wide, so 640 plus 30, 670, or e pos y greater than or equal to 480. Then how do we just like is there no continue? I guess we have to, right? Oh, so we don't need an equal there. This isn't that exact. Let's just do that, right? So we're not going to draw things when they're out of bounds. And okay, I think we need to slow these bullets down. This is a bit crazy. I guess let's just throw a knot, right? But it's not going to... Okay, we're going to change these to ands. We're going to flip the signs, change everything to and. Right? If we're within a rectangle, then draw. Perfect. Let's go into player. Let's slow these bullets down. These bullets are too fast to see. Let's also change the offset. Let's make it just like a bit closer to the player. Right? We can play with these numbers later. Oh, this isn't being done properly. Okay, there's another really easy mistake to spot here. Can you spot it, right? The player bullet is going way too fast. Why? Because we're not factoring in delta time. Right, that was 100 pixels per update rather than 100 pixels per second. So now these bullets actually might feel a little bit slow. Let's see. Okay, so I think we're starting to see a sign that our rotation really isn't being done correctly, because these bullets are coming out at the right angle, I think. Again, allow me to like demonstrate more clearly to the camera, right? But this is quite cool. But yeah, it feels like we're a little bit off center. Our nose is not quite pointing right. Nice, but this is cool. This works. This works beautifully. Nice bit of vector math there to make that happen. Okay. I just got to look at this. cos negative sine, sine cos, that looks good. 2 and 5. Negative soft height, soft height over 2 is 0. This feels correct. I do wonder what's happened here. I do wonder what has happened here. Okay, there's something else I was thinking. I should commit. What is this? This is... it's button, events, player shoots. Horrible commit messages here. Horrible commit messages. Okay, so this is getting better. Let's up this offset again. Let's put it back at 30, I think. That's gonna... Maybe we should actually do self.height, right? It spawns, it comes out the nose of the player. Okay, actually we're not rotating this properly, right? Why isn't this happening properly? Okay, so it looks like we're spawning bullets regardless of which way the player faces. It looks like the bullets are coming from here, which feels like it's where we want the bullets to come from when we're facing this way, but not where we want the bullets to come from for every other way. So why is this? This must mean that we're not adding the rotated vector to our origin correctly, to our player origin correctly. That's the only explanation I have. So let's double check this logic, right? So we start with BO, with our bullet offset, which is our player position. We'll then take an offset. Oh yeah, hold on. We're doing that out of order. We're adding before we rotate. That is literally what I just described, right? It's like it's not being rotated. I'm so confused. It's almost like we're not doing the operation. Okay. Aha. Okay, that's actually coming a little bit too far out of the nose, and I feel like it shouldn't be that far out. But this is cool. This is really cool. So we've got to consider as well that all these bullets, although we're not drawing them once they go off the screen, they do continue to still exist, right? They're out in space. And that's not good. So I do wonder at what point the emulator starts to slow down. Like, how many of these things can we spawn? They're all updating every frame. You know, how far can we go? How far can we push it? Further than this. Further than perhaps I have the patience to test. Oh no, are we slowing down? I think we're chugging a little. It's a lot of entities. Okay, that's really cool. That's like hundreds of entities before that starts to like chug. Awesome. So we really need some kind of logic to... Actually, let me commit that as well. Okay, so we really need some kind of logic to say that if this bullet is too far out of bounds, let's blow it up. Let's kill it. So how do we do that? Well, there are a few options. The main problem is that Lure's table remove is very, very slow. Also, how do we remove something? Like, we're iterating over the table. How do we remove something from the table? We have to remove by index. So my favorite way of doing this is to have a kill list, right? So as you loop through, let's say update returns true or false. Let's say if update is false, then... and we're going to specifically say if equals false, because the default for a function not returning is for it to evaluate to nil, which is falsy. So I think if we say if not update, then anything that doesn't return will, you know, be equivalent to false. We want it to be explicit. So if false, then table insert kill list, and we want to insert the index, which is here. Right, so for every entity, if at the end of its update function we decide that this entity is killable, we build a list of all the things we're going to come back and kill, and then we do another loop. For I in I pairs kill list do self, we do table remove. Didn't I just say that table remove is very slow? Yes I did. Am I ignoring that self-advice Yes, I am. Sometimes you just got to do things the convenient way. So let's say if self-pos x is less than negative 20, or self-pos y is greater than, let's go x greater than 670, or self-pos y is less than negative 20, self-pos y is greater than 470, then return false. Now we should be able to create bullets to our heart's content without spamming up the game. So let's do it. Let's just sit here and tap. How's everyone doing? How's everyone doing? Let's see if we can crap out the game engine again. Okay. This is great. This is great. This is high quality. This is high quality. It's looking better, right? It's looking smoother. It's looking like we're not slowing down. I guess the other thing I could do is like spawn 10,000 bullets out of bounds and see what happens. I guess that's still gonna chug, right? But if it recovers from the chug, then we know it's good. But anyway, by this point before, I was starting to see like the movement jank out and stuff. So this is very unscientific, but we'll survive. We'll survive. That's good. I think the player, we want to do something different, right? The player we want to wrap around. So the player, once we've moved, if self-pos x, if the x position is less than, say, negative 30, then self-pos x equals self-pos x plus, what do we add to our self-x position? We add the width of the screen. We add 640, right? No, we add... Hold on, I need to think about this. So if we're wrapping around the screen, let's get rid of it. This wasn't very useful. This was a poor diagram. If we're wrapping around the screen, right? So we have a capital W and we have a capital H. And then we also have the part of the screen that we can view, right? Because we don't want to wrap the second we go off the screen. That's going to be too extreme. So... Once our x is greater than w, so once it's less than 0, we add on the width. But that has to be the big W, right? Not the visible width, but the width of the whole stage. So we need to factor in what our padding is. And in this case, it looks like our padding is negative 30. So let's go... so if it's less than negative... pad, then it's sort of plus... I guess I really should have a constant for like game width and game height or something. Or maybe this should be part of the game state. That checks out. Because this gets passed into our update function now as well, so we can use that. So let's go view width equals 640, view equals 448. And then width equals 640 plus 30, but it has to, we're going from negative 30, right? So it has to be plus 60? Yeah, so it's 640 plus 60. And then we go height equals 448 plus 60. I think that's good. I think this is sound logic. This is gonna work. This is gonna work beautifully. So we have the game. Not the game, we have the player. We're going to go in, we're going to say if it's less than, we'll keep the pad definition in player, even though it's kind of dumb, SD plus width, and else if self-pos x is greater than state width, then self-pos x equals self-pos x minus... Wait, but we're going from negative 30... This doesn't quite work, does it? Because if we're bigger than... So if we're bigger than the width minus the pad, right? Does that make sense? Because we need to wrap to negative... This makes sense in my head. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Let's see if this works just with the width. and see what happens. Also, how's my keyboard sounding? Is it beautiful? Is it clacky? Pad. Oh, hold on. I just overrode. Hold on. Local. I overrode my globals for pad control. PX. All right. Here we go. So what happens? I go to the right. Do I come back? I do. Oh, that's nice. I love it. But our bullets do not. Our bullets terminate at the edge of the screen, but our player wraps around. So let's do the same thing for the Y, because that is just too good. Can I just... ST height... and I guess I just do, yeah, width height as well, right? Good bit of find and replace action. Will this just work? Do I now scroll in both directions? No. So it's possible by greater than the height minus. If it's less than this, then the Y plus equals the thing. That's good. If it's bigger than this, then the Y is the Y minus the thing, which is also good. Alright, let's try that again. I worry that... Well, let's try wrapping from the bottom. Okay, so we're taking too long to wrap. It's working, but it's a little bit extreme. Why is this a little bit extreme? If it's less than this, why does it take so much longer to hit -30? Why? Such a positive Y less than PX. PX is 30, right? I don't know, maybe -10? Let's like bring it right down and see what happens. Is that origin? No, look at that. That's so weird. We must be doing the height wrong, right? We must be setting this height must be way too high. 448. 448. We're 640 by 448, right? That's the canvas height. If we can find it in here. 640 by 224. I mean, that would explain it, right? Why are we initializing into the wrong video mode? 640 by 440. Wait, is this happening in all of my code? Hold on, I need to... What mode am I in? 640 by 448. What have I done differently here? Huh. What have I done differently here? Did I call GS set output? I didn't call GS set output, did I? Okay, I'm not setting up an output mode, so it's defaulting to something. Here we go. Now we're getting somewhere. And this might explain why there was warping as well, right? Because I'm doubling vertical pixels. So maybe this is actually all going to be beautiful now that I do this. Cool, so we'll set it up to render 60 Hertz. Ooh, this looks a little different. What if I rotate? Oh man, the problem was my screen setup. Isn't that crazy? And now if I scroll properly and everything. Oh, that's amazing. Look at this. If I go up the corner, I come back. All right, we are ready to asteroid, right? We are ready to shoot some things. This took way too long to get just this simple stuff going. I don't know how this stuff always takes so much longer than I expect on stream, but this is feeling smooth. This is feeling good, okay?